Ninjas are featured in various media like movies and novels, and now ninja has become a universal word, enjoying immense popularity. Also, Koka and Shiga Prefecture and Iga and Mi Prefecture play a part in regional revitalization as ninja villages. By the way, nowadays ninjas are imagined as wearing black outfits and using mysterious arts to toy with enemies, but that is merely a stereotype created after the war. So, what kind of existence were they actually? Let's unravel that, along with their history this time. We will also introduce ninja groups from all over the country, so please enjoy. Who was the person who became the origin of ninjas? About 1400 years ago, Prince Shotoku and Mononobe no Maria came into conflict over the acceptance of Buddhism, introduced from mainland China. Eventually, it turned into a decisive battle, and the prince led an army to fight. But he was easily defeated before the Mononobe forces. He had no choice but to flee to a village in Koka. But the enemy's pursuit only intensified. Then, before the prince, who was at a loss with no escape route, a man named Otomo no Sahito appeared. When Sahito saw the prince, he thought this must be a noble person and decided to cooperate with him. Sahito used strange arts to hide the prince and his army in the blink of an eye. Eventually, when the large Monoma army arrived, they thought they must be hiding around here, and fired a large number of arrows, but since they had disappeared, there was no way they would hit. After the enemy left, the prince and his men reportedly returned to the capital leisurely. Triggered by this event, Sahito, who became the prince's subordinate, played a major role in the subjugation of Mononobe no Maria. The prince praised Sahito's work and gave him the title of Shinobi. It is said that from here, ninjas came to be called Shinobi. 100 years later, the Jinshin War broke out, in which Prince Oma and Prince Otomo fought for the throne. Prince Otomo built a strong fortification in Omi Yamashiro province, so Prince Oma struggled greatly to attack. Therefore, Prince Oma had a shinobi named Tako infiltrate the castle and set fire to various places in the castle. Using that as a signal, the army led by Prince Oma attacked all at once. And finally the castle fell, and Prince Otomo fled. Eventually, Prince Oma, who won, ascended the throne, and became Emperor Tenmu. These two stories lack historical backing due to the era. Also, since they do not go beyond the realm of folklore, we do not know how true they are. However, since political strife and the use of force continued in Japan from ancient times to the Heian period, it is highly possible that there were people who undertook such battles. Seeking the origin of ninjas in this era is not unnatural. Ascetics who fulfilled the role of ninjas. Eventually, in the Nara period, a figure named En no Azunu appears. Azunu is said to have used mysterious magic, flying through the sky, jumping from island to island, or making demons his servants, known for his superhuman behavior. Therefore, many people claim that he was the first ninja. By the way, Azunu is considered the founder of Shugendo, and by undergoing strict training while walking around the mountains, he was endowed with great spiritual power. Eventually, when Azunu passed away, mountain worship flourished, and many ascetics opened sacred grounds. The reason why there are many temples and historic sites related to Azunu in mountains all over the country is because of that. Now ascetics and Yamabushi do not stay in one sacred ground, since they train while traveling around. Here and there, they inevitably hear information from various places. Frequently, in that case, there is no reason for samurai forces in various places to leave them alone. By hiring them or adding them to their subordinates, they could obtain information from various places. Eventually, when the chaotic times came, ascetics and Yamabushi came to serve warring states daimyo. For example, Joshu was a region where Shugendo had been flourishing since ancient times, and many ascetics were coming and going. The Sanada clan took note of this, organized them as a ninja group, and formed the Sanada Shinobi Army. Also, in Satsuma, Shimazu Nishinzai, the grandfather of the four Shimazu brothers, incorporated Yamabushi and organized a ninja group called Yamaguri. The hidden face of those men was that of people dedicating the Lotus Sutra who walked all over the country. With this, they could pass checkpoints without suspicion, and with their strong legs, it was possible to dispatch them far away. These ninjas mainly had intelligence gathering as their mission. But there are also ninjas born from a completely different background. From the Heian period to the Kamakura period, there were people who managed manors or did subcontracting work, but eventually, they grew by possessing military power and seized substantial control of the land. Eventually, they increased their presence as a small lord class, and without obeying the rulers of the time, they seemed to survive by making full use of their own governance structures and networks. These are called Akudo outlaws. And they frequently appear in history textbooks, don't they? And after the late Kamakura period, some Akudo fought for rewards while also taking on dirty work. This became the ninja groups represented by Iga and Koka, taking on not only espionage activities, but also surprise attacks and destructive activities. Also, in those regions, there were no daimyo with exclusive control, right? And the lords, who held their own ground, conducted politics by council. In other words, they operated the region itself through a network based on horizontal connections, rather than vertical subordination relationships. There are these two types of classifications for the origin of ninjas, and it is interesting that their characters differ. Respectively, ninjas active in the Warring States period. Now, let's look at the activities of ninjas that remain clearly in the records. First known as the Battle of that occurred during the Anin War era. In 1487, the 9th shogun, Ashikaga Yoshihisa, led 25,000 soldiers to invade Omi to subjugate Rakaku Takayore. By the way, the Rakaku clan had a residence called Kananji Castle, but Takayori Isili abandoned it and fled to the Koka region. In the south, this was because there were Kokashu who sided with the Rakaku clan. Eventually, in order to corner Takayori, the punitive force camped at Magari, which corresponds to current Rido City, Shiga Prefecture, and tried to invade Koka at once. However, the Kokashu were elusive and launched guerrilla warfare, causing the shogunate army great trouble. Also, since they knew the land well, they used every tactic available, such as ambushes, luring, or assassination, instilling great fear in the armies of the daimyo. The war situation did not improve at all, and the supreme commander Yoshihisa fell ill and passed away young. And in 1541, there is such a record. Hosokawa Hiromoto, who fell out with his senior vassal, Kazawa, ordered Niki Nagamasa to attempt to capture Haru Castle, Kasagi Castle. It is said that about 80 Igashu hired there secretly infiltrated the castle and set fire to it. Although they succeeded in the fire attack once, 2 days later they suffered a counterattack from Kizawa, and more than 30 were killed. This is a record found in the highly credible Nikki, and can be said to be one of the few historical materials describing the activities of ninjas in the Warring States period. Also, ninja groups serving Warring States daimyo engaged in intelligence gathering and destructive activities in various places. And sometimes we can see traces of their activities, such as joining battles. The Edo period, when ninjas disappeared. Although ninjas operated behind the scenes throughout the chaotic times, under Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu as centralization progressed, they gradually lost their place of activity. First, the Igashu were destroyed by Oda Nobunaga's subjugation in the Tensho Iga War. Subsequently, the Kokashu also submitted to the Toyotomi regime and were incorporated under its command. Later, the Igashu and Kokashu were divided into those who became Yuri of the Edo shogunate, or those who became Ronin, losing their status as ninjas. Also, with the end of the Warring States period, many ninjas serving daimyo in various places were let go. Although some survived as feudal retainers, it is said that most ninjas returned to farming. However, in the Shimabara rebellion that occurred in 1637, the actions of ninjas can be confirmed. They were called Kokamano, and were those who served the shogunate anew. The supreme commander Matsudra Nobitsuna ordered, investigate the distance to Hera Castle and the height of the moat. Investigate the depth of the swamp in detail and summarize it in a map, and a survey team of about 10 people was formed. But the results seemed to be terrible. When they waited for the castle to become quiet at night and infiltrated, one person fell into a hole, causing an uproar inside the castle. They managed to pull him out and try to escape, but it is said he returned in a dying state. Since the era of war had already ended, their skills as ninjas must have become dull. By the way, there is a job title called Oniwaban in the shogunate system, but this is not a word referring to ninjas themselves. Around the time of the 8th shogun Tokugawa Yoshimune, the Iga and Koka men, who had served the shogunate since Tokugawa had already lost their abilities as ninjas. They thought he had to give them work somehow, so reportedly gave them secret missions to spy on the provinces in Edo. However, in the peaceful era, there was no significant information, and there was work only occasionally. In the peaceful Edo period, the existence of ninjas was no longer necessary, and at the end of the Edo period, a chance to be active came for the Koka people, as lower-ranking samurai serving the shogunate, in the situation of opening the country or expelling foreigners. They offered to the Roju of the time that they wanted to devote themselves to loyalty to the country at the risk of their lives, and formed the Koka Kanodai, Koka Loyalist Corps. However, when the tide turned against the shogunate, one of them appealed to the new government that he wanted to side with the imperial army. and it is said that they left the shogunate one after another. Thus, after the Meiji Restoration, ninjas became a fictional existence. And eventually, we reach the present day. Ninja groups active under warring states daimyo now. From here, let's introduce some ninja groups that supported warring states. Daimyo first. The Kurohaba Kigami that served Date Masamune. Their lineage is neither samurai, yamabushi, nor since Masamune ordered to gather people with excellent abilities regardless of status. It seems they were organized by farmers and townspeople. However, since they had no combat experience, they seemingly engaged in espionage activities and obtained a lot of information by exploring various places. And the Saiki clan. A ninja group that was active under Mori Motonari cannot be overlooked either. The Saiki clan, said to have many super origins, seemed to excel in intelligence gathering, becoming Motonari's eyes and ears and delivering accurate information. They were also well versed in eliminating figures who were threats to the Mori clan and frequently sent fake letters to their nemesis Su Harakata. One of them was that Era Fuzahide, a vassal of the Su, was planning a rebellion, and Harakata, who believed it, killed him. Also, in order to reduce the power of the Imago clan, a hero of the Sanan region, they sent a letter to Imago Yoshihisa, saying that the hereditary vassal, Hayama, was betraying him. Yoshihisa, who believed this, is said to have killed Hisahide. It can be said that the activities of the Saiki clan supported hegemony. Actual ninjas were not flashy things using fire release technique or shadow clone technique, but mostly diligent and steady work. Ninjas created in later generations are fun as entertainment, but don't you think it's interesting to know the history of real ninjas? That's all for this time. Thank you always for watching. If you liked it, please support us with a like and channel subscription.